Are you ready? Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is G. You're watching Allastrology. And we are going to go over the eclipse for the month of May. It happens on May 5th. And the eclipse happens in the sign of Scorpio. So, what I want to do is pull up the chart and I want to go a little bit deeper. All right. We're going to look at some of the aspects, right? Some of the possibilities. I'll talk through the ways some of the energy can look and express in our world, in our lives. And then I want to go and do like a deep dive on the degree of this eclipse itself. So, for those of you that are experienced with astrology, this video is for you. You know, you want to see the degrees, you want to see the map, you want to see the chart. But you can then place this information, you can take it and apply it to your chart, right? Because then with those degrees, you say, okay, in this sign at this degree, where is that in my chart, right? So kind of think of it like a little treasure hunt. You know, it's like a little key, a guide, and you got to look at it. And then you're like, okay, if I read this and do this, I got to go look at here and see where it takes me. And so we're literally following along on those energetic breadcrumb trails to figure things out, right? Just to figure out what the energetic weather is going to be. Okay. So before I show the map, the first thing on an eclipse to remember is that we always pay attention to the point of the eclipse, the degree itself. Hold on. We got to turn on some alerts here. There we go. We got to pay attention to the degree of the eclipse itself, but also what is happening at the opposite end. So if it's an eclipse in Scorpio, which it is, right? 15 degrees in Scorpio energy, we're also paying attention to 15 degrees in Taurus energy. Okay. Is that a little bit better? So 15 degrees in Scorpio, 15 degrees in Taurus. So that means in your chart, you're looking at two areas on your chart. You're looking at Scorpio and you're looking at Taurus. Okay. So at the end of this video or somewhere in it, we're going to read the deep dive on the 15 degrees of Scorpio and the 15 degrees of Taurus. Okay. So this is a full moon eclipse. And being in the sign of Scorpio, that tells us something, right? Because if we know the meaning for Scorpio energy, like those keywords, right? Scorpio keywords, what are they? You know, it's bonds, right? That's the first thing I think of. Energetic bonds, blood bonds, soul bonds. You know, blood bonds as in we're related, literally. These are my cousins. These are my mother, my brother, my sister, my father, right? Relatives, right? Our ancestry in a way. Yeah. But it can also be that soul memory, I said memory, soul memory, soul history. It can also be energetic bonds in terms of people that we've been intimate with. You can be emotionally intimate with somebody. You could even be intellectually intimate with somebody. You can be physically intimate with somebody. It doesn't mean just physical intimacy, right? People that you get along and you talk to, you guys have discussions and there's things that you just understand and you feel like you've known each other forever even, right? There's like that thing, that underlying connectivity between you and you just don't understand it because the past is involved, not the past of this personality either. Although that can be the case for some of you. Some people say, oh yeah, it's been a long time. 20 years ago, this was a friend of mine, or we dated, or, you know, we were really close and then we fell out and oh my gosh, it's 20 years later and they kind of came back into my life. That happens, doesn't it? It does. And so it can be that too. But it can also be people that you meet and you're just like, why do I feel like I've known you my whole life? It can be that too. Okay. So Scorpio can be complex and we usually associate it to things that are below the surface and hidden. It's deep emotions. And normally when we have those deep emotions, well, let's think about that. What sort of things and experiences in life do we go through where we can get those deep emotions? Okay. Some would say, you know, if you have a physical bond with somebody, an intimate physical bond. Yes, there can be deep emotions also attachments. Absolutely. Right. Some people can be physically intimate and not have attachments. So I'm not going to, I try not to focus on that because that's not the same for everybody. Right. But how else can Scorpio show up if you have those deep, intense emotions? Your vulnerabilities, your wounds, tragic stuff, right? That's Scorpio. And you see people who've got like a buttload of Scorpio, they'll tell you, damn, they've got stories attached to each one of those things. And it's stuff where they're just like, yeah, it didn't kill me. I think I'm stronger. I'm still alive. I cheated death, the Phoenix rising, right? Absolutely. Absolutely. So the full moon eclipse, May 23rd, May 5th, if I didn't say it, full moon, 12:34 p.m. That's in my time zone, which is Central Daylight Time Zone where I'm located. So just for where you are, so you've got the sun and the moon at opposite ends of each other. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll draw like a nice little blue line. I actually do a better line when I go from left to right. Did you guys ever notice that? You can do better lines. You can draw things better. Some people, they can go better from left to right or from right to left or from down, from up to down or from down to up. Like your hand can, everybody's different. You'll have it more like precise. Anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up because I'm weird like that. No, it was something I never knew about myself. And I thought, well, helly crap. Drawing classes teach you that kind of stuff. So there's your moon, 14 degrees and 58 minutes. So that's a 15-degree eclipse, right? 15 degrees, we can round that up. And then that means because it's a full moon, the sun is at the opposite end at the same degrees. Exactly. And that's how you get a full moon. Sun and moon exactly opposite of each other. So it's an eclipse and it's in Scorpio. So we talked about some of the Scorpio keywords, right? Those wounds, those vulnerabilities, things that we hide. Not to be so much secretive, but it's almost a way of protecting ourselves because remember, Mars is the ruler of Scorpio, as is Pluto. So if Mars is the ruler, we have to talk about that a little bit. Mars is a fighter. Mars doesn't give up. But what does Mars usually wear? Armor to protect itself. And so many times, people who call that Scorpio energy secretive and whatnot, think about it, right? If you don't literally have, like, what kind of armor can you use to cover up your emotional wounds? Is there such a thing? Armor to cover emotional wounds. Is there such a thing? Well, when we talk about Scorpio energy, many people observe that they have trust issues. Think about that, right? That is their way where it's like, if I have my emotional vulnerabilities, I have these emotional wounds, I'm not sure if I can trust somebody. So it's going to take some time, right? It's going to take some time. And so they're going to likely be very private, right? They're going to be private because it's stuff that they themselves also may not even understand. I mean, let's be real. Some of these people, some of these charts I've looked at, people have had such tragic stuff happen from a very young age. Okay, a very young age. And many times we block that stuff out when we go through certain tragedies. We don't really even know all the time. Okay. And so that's why people really like to tend to point a finger at Scorpios and accuse them of being private or sneaky. And it's like they can't share with you what they don't even understand. Right? How can they talk about something they don't understand? They can't. It would be really difficult. It's a mystery to them too sometimes, okay? So it's not always about that. But then if they are aware of it, you're right. They would likely be um not rushing into things. They would likely ask a lot of questions and be super like detective like to figure out, okay, is this person okay? Am I safe? Because remember, it's the soldier. So it's always going to have this strong front. I'm the soldier. I'm strong, right? You always got to put on that strong face, but you always got to be, I'm sleeping with one eye open. Right, because you've been through some stuff. You've been through some stuff, okay? So, if people understand that, it just helps to better understand the intense nature of the Scorpio energy. The soldier, right? The deep wounds, the tragic experiences, and some of them you might not know why, but yet you feel the byproduct from those experiences, those intense emotions, okay? Some people experience anxiety. Some people experience, that fight or flight, like PTSD stuff. Absolutely. Scorpio. People who've been to war, who've fought, literally, they come back because they can't unsee what they've seen. They can't unhear what they've heard. They can't, they can't reverse what they've been through. It's imprinted on them. And many times it carries through, it carries over, and it affects everything we do from that point on, right? So Scorpio and Mars is the fighter, can be impatient, right? Can be impatient, very passionate. It is about the physical body. So many times it uses the physical body to take action and to possibly fight, but to take action to think about this. If I'm in a fight, and especially if I feel vulnerable, like, I got to get you before you get me, type of thing, right? Like, if I only have one shot, I got to make my best shot the first shot, and it better be a good one, because I might not get a second shot. And when I say shot, I have my fist clenched, just so y'all know. I'm not recommending a gun when I say shot, because I think the uses of guns and the terminologies that I'm catching and picking up just in the way people talk, it's really normalized gun use, and it's frightening to me. I'm not even going to lie. I think it's frightening. It's frightening how it's been normalized, even in our language, and we don't recognize it. We're using words, like the word tragic means good or awesome, right? The word kill. Yeah, man, he killed it. Holy shit. Like, that's not supposed to be a good thing. That's supposed to be like, you ended life for something or someone like that. How can that be good, right? It's never a joyous moment, right? You took life, but yet we've normalized it. And Pluto being a big part of this, because look, not that this hasn't already been like this, but Pluto is in air. Now, Pluto was already part of showing us the undesirable parts of our lives, the undesirable part of the world, the abuses of society, the abuses from people in power. Pluto has been showing us this, but it's also been its words, right? All that stuff like killing it or whatever, like all that has made its way into our terminology, but even more so with the nodes in Taurus and Scorpio, right? Even more so. It just seems like it's so more prevalent, and Mars out of bounds for so long. This, in end of 2022 and the first 5 months of 2023, Mars out of bounds, and Mars being that soldier who carries weapons, right? So Pluto energy now for this eclipse, it being a co-ruler of Scorpio, is pretty important here, is really important, because this release, Scorpio, the eclipse, it's a release of some sort. It's a closure. It's an ending because it's a full moon, but it's going to be a little bit bigger of an ending because it's an eclipse. And it's an eclipse because the full moon itself happens near the moon's nodes. And there's your south node at 4 degrees, right? There's the south node in Scorpio at 4 degrees. And then on the other end, we've got, how about I just extend my thing? Extend my thing? We've got the other node over there in Taurus at 4 degrees, because that's going to always be a constant. The nodes always travel as a pair. The nodes are always going to travel as a pair. So if you see one node in one sign, at the exact opposite is going to be the other sign, and it'll be at the exact degree. So there's the nodes at 4 degrees. So Pluto, power, people in power, individual power, independent power, because it's in Aquarius. Aquarius is all about my independence. It's all about my freedoms, but it's all about me showing you that I'm the ruler of my life. I'm the authority of my life. This is my life. It's the rebel. Think of the rebel who says, oh, I know those are the rules, but guess what? They're not my rules. They don't apply to me, right? Well, what happens when that happens, right? If you rebel just to rebel, you're usually there's going to be consequences that you'll have to answer to if you live within a society. That's just the way it is. Societies have rules for reasons, right? And Pluto is people who have power and money, right? Sick power, sick money, right? Abuses of those powers, the rebelling, not following the rules, Aquarius, making up my own rules, Aquarius, Pluto. I will mention Pluto is now retrograded at this time. You see how the numbers are in red. Any numbers in red means something is retrograding. Okay. 0 degrees and 21 minutes. Pluto is sitting here at this degree, or I should say at this minute, 0:21 for quite a while. Because if it's red, that means it's retrograding, and the retrograde began at the end of April. Like April 30th, I believe, Pluto stood still at 0:21 and begins going backwards. But because Pluto is such a slow mover, you see here on May 5th, you see here that Pluto is still at 0:21 because it's a slow mover. So when Pluto stands still, remember, it's like a drill. It's a drill. It drills down. Remember, it's the rotor-rooter of the zodiac. It's drilling down because Pluto digs. It drills. It drills down and down and down, and it just keeps on drilling till it gets to that oil or that black gold or whatever has been in the hidden, whatever has been below the surface. And when it gets down there and it pokes at it, it springs at it, and it comes shooting up, right? And we see what it was, and we're like, aha, holy crap, that's what was down there. In a recent video, I talked about using the plumber's camera and going through the piping system. And that's kind of the same way because we're diving deep, we're digging, we're looking, we're investigating, we're researching. We're just forever on that quest to get to the bottom of things, to find out what the truth is, to find out what is not obvious, what's hidden. Pluto. Okay. Now, remember, when we get there, Pluto's main thing is there's going to be accountability. The bell tolls. That's Pluto. Pluto rings that bell and says, if you've abused the power you were given, here we go. Atonement time, right? It is time. And so we have to apply all of that to this, all of that to the Scorpio and this release. It is a south node eclipse. South node. Okay. And the eclipse being near the south node, the word south node is all about the past. What happened in the past? What happened with people I was energetically bonded to? Remember, these can be people that have nothing to do with our blood bonds, but our energetic bond, people we just vibed with on a deep level. We met them and we just immediately understood each other. We just immediately understood. We had similar shared values, sign of Scorpio. Maybe we had the same wounds. Maybe we'd been through the same tragedies, right? Maybe we had shared values, like as in money, as in old money, as in money from way back, right? Scorpio energy. Normally, when we have something that happens with Scorpio, we could even inherit money. Somebody's releasing money because there's a death. And then the money goes to the next person in line, right? There's even taxes involved with Scorpio energy too. Taxes maybe because we received an inheritance. All of a sudden, we got to pay damn taxes on that, right? That's Scorpio energy. So it's a shared value, even though it is also can be the wounds and those vulnerabilities and that tragic stuff that I first started talking about in the beginning. Okay. Now, let's talk about the degrees. 1458 in Scorpio. We're going to begin there because that's where the eclipse occurs. And that's the first thing I'm going to do a little bit of a read on. And again, this is from Dane Rudyard's Astrological Mandala. He has reinterpreted the Sabian symbols and put his spin on it. If you feel like after I've read it that, you may have a different understanding or another idea of how it could be interpreted, I would love to hear about it. I like to think of the videos on this channel as a resource for generations to come. So there is no wrong answer here. Please put your feedback in on the comments down below, because those youngsters coming up, people who aren't even born, will have access to this, and they'll be able to see, right? Especially if you can tell us how this is showing up for you in your life on present day. That's even, yeah, more revealing. So Scorpio at 15 degrees. We're picking 15 because it's at 1458. And that's technically a 15-degree eclipse, a 15-degree event. Okay. So this one's pretty simplistic. It says children playing around 5 mounds of sand. Children playing around 5 mounds of sand. Yes, the number 5. The keynote: early steps in the development of mind seeking to be attuned to the higher level of human evolution. Now, how the hell he went from children playing around 5 mounds of sand to this keynote: early steps in the development of a mind seeking to be attuned to the higher level of human evolution. Wow. How did he get from that to that? He adds on a little paragraph here, so I'm going to read this. This is a particularly cryptic symbol, he says. It may be deciphered if one realizes that man's essential destiny is to develop as a 5-fold being, the pentagram, or the 5-pointed star. Number 5 symbolizes mind in its most creative and penetrating aspect, while the number 4 refers to the life processes operating at present within the Earth's biosphere. Our Western civilization has realized only the lower level of this vibration, 5. The mind contaminated by compulsive instincts and emotional involvement. Some individuals, however, are born with a special potential for development of the higher creative mind, and in social circumstances favoring this development. In most cases, they are still playing around, in quotations, with their unusual capacity. They are in the kindergarten stage of this higher mind of development. So the sequence, the 5 symbols, is the transcendent possibilities of mental evolution. This is his afterthought. It requires an interpersonal communion in consciousness. The free spirit of true scientific inquiry is only a foreshadowing of such a type of mind. It demands dedication to mankind as a whole. What is seen here is a future-oriented growth. What is seen here is a future-oriented growth. I said orientated. Oriented growth. Future-oriented growth. Wow. So Dane Rudyard went quite deep from 5 sand mounds, children playing around 5 sand mounds. And the way I understand this is he's saying it's about the mind and the mind's capacity, and that for some people, their minds they have the capacity to go higher, but we get kind of stuck. We get kind of stuck in the instinctual, in the survival modes, right? And once we are able to get past that, right, he calls it the mind contaminated by compulsive instincts and in emotional involvement. So we get hung up. We get hung up on the emotions, the shared emotions. We think about traditions and all the emotions that whatever the little traditions you have within your culture, or your society, or your family, and all the emotions around it. I can think of a lot of the holidays in the United States where it's like, oh my God, we have to do this. We do this all the time. And it's like, whoa, but I don't care for it. I don't want to do it. Right. And it's like, we're like on autopilot. It's like, we don't challenge it. We don't stop to think, I know they enjoy it. You want to do it, but maybe it's not good for me. Right. Maybe I have other things that I've realized are actually better for me. Right. And so it's taking our mind to another level and being creative and tapping into that creative aspect of the mind. So until then, the playing around stage is where we're at. We're at the kindergarten stage, but we have the ability to go higher. We have the ability to be the free spirit of true scientific inquiry, and that this is the foreshadow of that type of mind, and it demands dedication to mankind as a whole. What is seen here is a future-oriented growth. Wow. Pretty deep. I would love to hear what you think about that. And yeah, there's no wrong answers. Even he said that one was very cryptic, and it was. Okay, so let's go to 15 degrees of Taurus, right? Because that's what we're looking at the opposite in your chart. You want to go to also 15 degrees of Taurus energy. All right. And so here's the book, same book, 15 degrees of Taurus. It says here, here's your visual, a head covered with a rakish silk hat. And that's spelled Rakish. I think that's an Indian word, and I'm very ignorant of that. So forgive me if I chopped up the pronunciation. A rakish, maybe it's pronounced. I don't know. It's a silk hat. The head is covered with the rakish or rakish silk hat. It is muffled against the wind. A man braves a storm. The keynote, he says, is the courage needed to meet the crises precipitated by social ambition. The courage needed to meet the crisis precipitated by social ambition. And then he has an afterthought here. The man with the silk hat has seen, I'm sorry, my brain and my words, Mercury retrograde's killing me. The man with the silk hat has seen some of his ambitious efforts bring him social success, but he learns that often nothing fails like success. The storm may be within him, or he may attack his social status, or it may attack his social status. He is ready to face it daringly. He shows a willingness to accept the crisis, but then to go through those crises. And therefore, it shows great character, the soil upon which a higher kind of consciousness may develop. This implies a transition to a new level at which the individual who has learned from experience demonstrates a truly mature mind. And what is revealed here is character. And he has character in all caps. It is character under adverse circumstances. And so this one was a pretty straightforward one, I think, because this was someone who had a hat on their head, understanding they had to go out into the elements, and that the elements might have been a little wicked, right? A little cold, maybe some snow even, and they better put a hat on their head. There's a storm out there, and they better protect themselves, but they're going to go out in it anyway. They're not going to stay in the house and hide. They're like, you know what? I understand, and I'm going to go out in it anyhow. So they're braving the storm. They're going forward in it. They're going to go through it. And with that, it reveals great character. That's how we develop our character. If everything in life is simple, if everything is just handed to us, we're almost like as who we were when we came in. How else can we create that great character but when we're under stress, but when we have tests, but when we go through those times of tension and frustration? That is when we create great character. That's how it literally, those are the ingredients for great character, right? Great character. You must go through the trials and the tribulations, and you see that you survive and you come out and you live, another day, another battle, another time to laugh and to cry and to have a good time. So character at the 15 degrees of Taurus. So it's really fascinating how this was so different. The 15 degrees of Taurus and the 15 degrees of Scorpio, very, very different meanings, which makes sense. It should be very different in your chart because it's going to be two different areas of your life. So in this chart, as an example, this eclipse happened at in the 8th house in this chart. This is just an example for those of you who have a chart at home. Okay. And so at the opposite automatically of the 8th house is the 2nd house. And I know this because I've been looking at charts for a long time, right? I'm the astrology geek. So I know that. So I can go there and draw it for you. The eclipse over here at 1458, 15 degrees. Yep. It's in the 2nd house. So if this was someone's chart, there's the ability to maybe have some sort of a storm that you have to weather. And so this person puts the hat on and they're willing to go through it, right? They're willing to go through it and to brave that storm. On the other chart, on the other one, the 15 degrees of Scorpio over here was about the mind and the creativity and the higher mind, and trying to get out of the way things have always been, trying to get out of our instinctual stage, right? Trying to use our higher mind for sure. So at both end, there's something potent at both ends. What I want to point out before I sign off is the sun. Where is the sun on the eclipse? It's at 1458, right? Right. But look what's next to the sun. We have Uranus right there at 1841 at 19 degrees. So what this tells us is that the sun moves 1 degree a day. Okay. So in 3-4 days time, which would be May 8th, May 9th, May 10th, that sun will be conjunct Uranus. Okay. And if it's in Taurus, there's Earth, all things about the Earth, whether it's climate change, it could be money, it could be banking, it could be, lots of things with the Fed and interest rates. That's a big deal right now. But I want you to look at Venus. Venus is in Gemini, so there's news and it's money again and values. It's Gemini, so this could be digital and crypto. It's AI, right? Artificial intelligence. This can also be, right? Because we're thinking of Pluto also at 0 degrees in air. This can also be the housing market. This can also be not just the housing market, real estate, but what about commercial real estate? What about that, right? What about that? And so for you in your world, money in the bank, possibly a new job, but all this stuff is big stuff. It's all big stuff. And so many people have been like, oh my God, am I getting my job? Is this going to happen? And so much of those answers are not going to be resolved until beyond May 31st. And I've said this so many times just in the last 10 days to every person I've talked to, whether it was a personal conversation or a professional conversation. Every person I've talked to, it's the reminder of Mercury is retrograding through Taurus. It's our money. It's our values. Okay. Who I value, what I value, my bank account, the banks themselves, right? It's just everything is changing. All right. And it's not just going to flip on a dime and like all of a sudden things are going to be, helter skelter. It's not that. It's not that. It's just saying that when you have companies who are trying to make decisions like, okay, we had this plan, we revamped some things. They might have to make changes because that's what Mercury says. Mercury goes back over the books. Mercury in Taurus, money. It's going back over the books. Mercury's collecting the details, the data, the digits. It's the accountant, Mercury in Taurus, the accountant for sure. All right. So keep all these things in mind and hang tight. All right. If you got any questions, comment below. If you want your chart and you don't have it, comment below. Let me know how I can help you. All right. I will do whatever I can with whatever I have. All right. Sometimes for some of those charts, I've got a lot of people telling me I don't have a birth time. I have no clue. Well, then we're stuck between a rock and a hard place, right? Talk to your family members. Find out if you can whittle it down to at least a couple of hour window. Do the best you can. Otherwise, you're kind of just coming to me and you just have a birthday. I need the full digits, folks. All right. Then we can work on it. There are other ways that you can go on the channel and watch all the videos and figure out what most resonates with you, because then I can at least start there in cultivating a chart for you. All right. But you got to do the work too. I get people emailing me and they just like dump and I'm like, yeah, like I got to figure all this out for them. I got people who don't have any birth information as far as events that's happened in their lives. And it's like a jigsaw puzzle. It's like, holy crap, where do I begin? And so I only have so much time, but I want to help. I really do. So help me to help you. Okay. Below the video, I'll have all the degrees for those of you who like to pay attention to the degrees in your chart. Again, if you don't know and you want to know, just comment below.